chapter 30, Word, and all of it was important. And he made the altar. As he continues the list now of the furnishings in the tabernacle, talks about the altar of burnt offering, and he made the altar of burnt offering of acacia wood. 5 cubits was its length, and 5 cubits its width. It was a square, and its height was 3 cubits. And he made its horns on its 4 corners. The horns were of one piece with it, and he overlaid it with bronze. He made all the utensils for the altar, the pans, the shovels, the basins, the forks, and the fire pans. All its utensils he made of bronze, and he made a grate of bronze network for the altar under its rim, midway from the bottom. He cast 4 rings for the 4 corners of the bronze grating as holders for the poles, and he made the poles of acacia wood and overlaid them with bronze. Then he put the poles into the rings on the sides of the altar with which to bear it. He made the altar hollow with boards. Then the laver of bronze. He made the laver of bronze and its base of bronze from the bronze mirrors of the serving women who assembled at the door of the tabernacle of meeting. So you remember when we had talked about in looking at the creating of this laver that it had been made out of the bronze mirrors of the women in those days, and this is where we got that information. And so the laver was a place for the priests to cleanse themselves with the water and all. And so these women gave up their mirrors, so to speak, in order for that to happen. And of course it communicates the fact that true beauty is found not in mirrors, it's found in looking into the Word of God, being washed by the Word of God, and empowered by the Word of God. Then the court, or the enclosed area around the courtyard, he describes now the construction of that. Again, the commandments had been given, the blueprints for it. Now they needed to build it, and here's how they built it. Then he made the court on the south side. The hangings of the court were of fine woven linen, 100 cubits long. And there were 20 pillars for them, with 20 bronze sockets. The hooks of the pillars and their bands were silver. On the north side, the hangings were 100 cubits long, with 20 pillars and their 20 bronze sockets. The hooks of the pillars and their bands were silver. On the west side, there were hangings of 50 cubits, with 10 pillars and their 10 sockets. The hooks of the pillars and their bands were silver. For the east side, the hangings were 50 cubits. The hangings of one side of the gate were 15 cubits long, with their 3 pillars and their 3 sockets. And the same for the other side of the court gate. On this side and that were hangings of 15 cubits, with their 3 pillars and their 3 sockets. All the hangings of the court all around were fine woven linen. The sockets for the pillars were bronze, and the hooks of the pillars had their bands, and their bands were silver, and the overlay of their capitals was silver, and all the pillars of the court had bands of silver. And then the gate associated with this screen around the courtyard, the screen for the gate of the court was woven of blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and of fine linen, again just as God had commanded. The length was 20 cubits, and the height along its width was 5 cubits, corresponding to the hangings of the court. And there were 4 cubits with their 4 sockets of bronze. Their hooks were silver, and the overlay of their capitals and their bands was silver. All the pegs of the tabernacle and of the court all around were bronze. So the description now, the completing the construction of both the tabernacle and then also the furnishings for the tabernacle. Now, God then describes the inventory, so we get a sense of how much all of this costs. If you're in construction, you like to know these things, and even if you're not. So this is the inventory of the tabernacle of the testimony, which was counted according to the commandment of Moses for the service of the Levites by the hand of Ithamar, son of Aaron the priest. Very interesting here, because Moses builds in a system of accountability here. Just because God's people have given a ton of resources toward the building of this doesn't mean that the money and the resources are to be wasted, or that there shouldn't be a means of tracking these things. Moses sets in place a means of understanding who got how much of what in order to build what they built. And so that he could understand where all of these resources were going. And just because God blesses in a human life, or blesses in a church or in a ministry, and blesses above and beyond sometimes what a church or an individual needs in their life at the moment, is no excuse to become casual about money, or to just fritter it away or spend it carelessly. There's accountability here. I love it when the Apostle Paul, when you go into the New Testament,